Nitika, if you can start the recording, please. So it's going to be recorded from now. If you don't want your video capture, if you don't want to be in the recording, we recommend you shut down your video transmission so that your image is not captured. Otherwise, we have had a lot of ladies who couldn't join us. They wanted us to record the session for them. So we're gonna give you a couple more seconds to tune off the video if you don't want to be seen on the video, and we're going to start the recording in just a few more minutes. So today is a very special occasion. It's the first ever global meetup for the leading Cyber Ladies movement, a movement that was started 5 years ago here in Israel and is now global. We're going to go through some stories from participants in the movement from Tel Aviv, from New York City, from Toronto. And here's some of the things that you can expect with the leading Cyber Ladies movement. For those who are joining one of our events for the first time ever, the mission for the leading Cyber Ladies movement is to inspire women in cybersecurity to lead via events like this event, experiences, and networking. And all of our different chapters have done different events throughout the years. I'll let the chapter leaders tell a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Generally, our goal when we started this is to increase diversity, representation, and equality in the field of cybersecurity, because we believe women have a lot to contribute. And by increasing representation, increasing the visibility of women in cybersecurity, we can also inspire other groups and organizations to move to a more diverse future. So this is our mission statement, and these are our goals. I believe they're very short and sweet, very to the point. This is what we've been working towards in the past few years. What's next? Well, the story so far, as I mentioned, we started leading Cyber Ladies 5 years ago, January 2015, and I'll show you a sneak peek of a photo from that first ever meetup in just a second. We have had monthly and quarterly events in some of our regions. Here in Israel, we've had quarterly events. In some quarters, we've had more than one event. We've had online events, or rather CTF events, not online events. This is the first ever online event that we have. We have more than 1,600 global members. That's super, super exciting news. That's our membership throughout the different groups in Israel, in Canada, in the United States. We have Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, we have meetups, and we experience 13% new participants with each event. So I expect today, we also have participants that are here for the first time. Thank you so much for taking some of your valuable time this Friday to join us, to listen to some of the leading cyber ladies of the world and to be part of that global movement. You can follow us on social media, Leading Cyber Ladies on Facebook and Leading Cyber Ladies on LinkedIn. And of course, you can tag us on Twitter, Ladies Cyber on Twitter. You can use the hashtag Cyber Ladies across all different platforms. And of course, you can connect with your local chapter pages. These have been shared in the invitation for this event, and we'll share them again at the end of this event, whether it's through Meetup, Facebook, or other platforms. So who are we? It's very nice to meet you. Like I mentioned, my name is Karen Elazari, and together with Reut Menashe since 2017, we've been leading the Leading Cyber Ladies activities. The original idea for Cyber Ladies came to me from a lady who is actually with us today on video as well, and I'm very glad she could join us, Hila Miller. So Hila, if you could wave to everybody and make yourself known. Thank you so much for joining us. And as you can see, this is a photo from the first ever meetup that we had. This is back in 2015. Hila gave me a call. She said, Karen, I want ladies in cybersecurity that are leading, that are doing great, to have the same networking and executive development opportunities that everybody else enjoys in this industry. We shouldn't be, left behind. We should have our own events. So she came up with the idea. She hosted the very first event back in 2015 at the offices of CA. We also have with us today Helen from Toronto. Give us a good, nice wave there, Helen. And Nitika from Toronto as well, who started Leading Cyber Ladies in Toronto in 2019. But actually, I see that we have Reut here with us. I wasn't sure if she was online. Let me just go back quickly. Sorry about that. I don't want to miss Reut. Reut, can you also say hello to everybody? A big, big, nice wave. Reut there. As you can see, Reut, Sivan, and Helen, and are all using beautiful Cyber Ladies backgrounds that have been created just for the Zoom, the limited edition. So I have to give props to Reut. She's been working tirelessly to make this event a reality and many of the amazing Cyber Ladies events throughout the years. Now back to, we talked about Hila, now talking about Toronto. And Toronto started in 2019 with Nitika and with Helen, and they've had several events. We'll hear more from them in a moment. And we have Sivan from NYC. Sivan, give us a good wave there. Thank you for joining, Sivan. Sivan started Leading Cyber Ladies in New York City, and she's had amazing success with her events there. They've also been attended by the media, and they've had, you know, articles published about her events, and that's just absolutely fantastic. So what I want to do right now is just quickly, we're going to have a little short panel with all of the Leading Cyber Lady leaders. Hila, actually, if you're available to stick around and join us for this panel, we would also love to have you join as well. It's a last minute edition, but we're super, super grateful for your presence here. As I mentioned, Hila she came up with the idea to start Leading Cyber Ladies, and then she became this big deal executive. So now she's vice president for British Telecom. She doesn't have always time for us, but today we're really, really grateful that she could join us. So what I'd like to do, if you can see on your screen, this is the invite to this event. All of the Leading Cyber Ladies put on our safety masks. We're staying home, but we want to be more connected than ever before. So I want to hear from each of the leaders, and we're going to start, I think, right here in Tel Aviv, right here in Israel. I think we're going to start with Reut. Reut, if you can share with us. Let's see if she is connected, because I know she had some video connectivity issues. If not, then until Reut gets back online, Hila, tell us in a few words, why did you give me that call back in 2015 to start the Leading Cyber Ladies? What was the motivation that you had?
I hope you can hear me. So, you know, back then I spent a lot of time thinking about it actually before I called you. And it was because I saw that there are a lot of women in our industry, but we were kind of hidden. We were not well connected. And then came this idea that let's join forces together and gather really key figures that happen to be from the same gender, and really create this kind of networking environment where we can share ideas, connect with each other, help each other, like we've often seen. And we then started also seeing that we were also able to help. Well, this initiative started as an initiative more for like established women with career already existing in the cyberspace. Mm-hmm. We saw that there is an increased demand to help the younger generation and more like junior profiles in entering the market. And we managed to also build some success around that.
Cool. Thank you so much, Hila. You know, it was such a great idea. If you didn't do it, if we don't do it, nobody's going to do it for us, right? And that was the spirit of Leading Cyber Ladies. And moving on from there, Reut, please tell me a little bit about, tell everybody actually online. And Nitika, you can unmute Reut now, please. Thank you, DJ Nitika, who is the maestro running everything in the vaccines. I would love to hear in a few words from Reut about her activities, her wishes, why Reut has been part of Leading Cyber Ladies, maybe talk a little bit about the CTF activities that we've had. Reut, are you connected? Are you with us? Nitika, can Reut speak? Is she unmuted?
I unmuted Reut. Reut, okay, hold on. Yeah, Reut, we can hear you.
She's connected with two different, so maybe you unmuted the wrong one.
Unmute both of them, yes, if you can.
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
Hey, it's not me.
Okay, hi.
Reut.
Reut, we can hear you.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, great. All right, I have really big internet problems currently. It's Murphy Law, I guess. Thank you, Karen. So nice to meet you, everyone. My name is Reut. I'm from Tel Aviv. I'm in this information security industry for, I think, a lot of times already. I don't want to mention the years. Anyway, yes, Tel Aviv chapter is very amazing. I see that a lot of ladies who are actively with us in all of our meetups here today. very glad to see you. We had a bunch of events during the last year. One of them was very, very successful from my opinion, and we will have a continue. One of them was the CTF, Catch the Flag Hackathon. That some of the ladies who is part of the community just created a hackathon in order to teach and to help more ladies to understand what is CTF. And that's reminding, yeah, it was Nofar, she's here. Nofar, thank you for the CTF hackathon, Nofar Terranio. And we're going to have Inval talking about CTF. I think CTF is one of the most important channels if you want to start in the information security. It's very challenging. It's like a game. You don't have to understand very, very much deeply technical issues, but it's a very good way to start. So I encourage you to learn CTF and to hear Inbal a presentation about CTFing. And we have much more interesting events such as Red Team versus Blue Team. What's very amazing, cloud security, and more to come, I hope. I don't know in which condition yet, but more to come, that's for sure. And yes, we're still trying to be the community that Hila, you just described, and Karen, what we are always trying to be, the community that will help to gather all the cyber ladies together and to help each other in whatever you need. So yeah, thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Reut. And I am very, very grateful for Reut's work in the past 2 years. She's really helped build this global community, working together with me and working behind the scenes to make each of our events really cool. Thank you so much, Reut. And now we're going to move on to Sivan from NYC. And I see already a couple questions coming in through chat. So I have a question for all of the global leaders. We'll get to that question in a minute. But first, Sivan, all the way in New York City and Manhattan. We're so happy to have you with us. We're so happy to see you feeling well, feeling healthy. And these are definitely challenging times. But if you can, Sivan, in a few words, tell us about your experience with leading cyber ladies. What have been some of your events in the past year? What are your feelings about the movement and your hopes and expectations for the future?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited about this event. Things in New York are pretty tough. And as you say, it's challenging times, but that's a good break. And actually, I moved to New York about 1.5 years ago, and it was clear for me that I'm gonna establish a cyber ladies community here because I was so impressed by the activities of the movement in Israel, and I thought it can be very beneficial, and I think it was pretty relevant. When I started the initiative here, I understood how big is the gap and how women are really seeking to have such a community. So since I've started the community here, so actually we already have 200 women in New York who are part of the community, it's amazing. It's only 1.5 years, and we had 5 amazing events during the last year, and another very interesting event in the past month. We are trying to target women who already work in the industry, but also those who are willing to start a career in cybersecurity. And that's why we're doing not only professional talks, but also technical workshops. So we had 2 pretty cool workshops last year, social engineering workshop and cracking password workshop with Kali Linux. And we're trying to introduce those different tools to women who wants to join the industry. And I think we're really creating an impact. And I honestly believe that this sisterhood, and I love to call it sisterhood because I feel that supporting each other and empowering each other, and the fact that we're now living in this digital, everyone are talking about digital transformation, but we're truly living now in a, we're witnessing the real change, the real digital transformation, and the world is not gonna get back to the same way he was before this crisis, before the pandemic. So I think that's a great opportunity for us to keep going and make it global and keep this connection, this global connection. And I'm happy and proud to be here and to do that with you. And as Ruth said, more to come. Thank you. Oh, Karen is muted.
Yes, great. There was a little bit of noise on my end, so I put myself on mute. Thank you for your help there, Nitika. Thank you, Sivan. So inspiring, and definitely it's amazing to see how even during these times, and you are, you know, in New York City where the situation is not that positive, it doesn't look that positive, that you're keeping a very hopeful and optimistic outlook, and we are thinking of you all the time.
Outlook and look, right? I'm trying now.
Yeah. And it's all about keeping that positive outlook, and the fact that you have workshops and that you've done workshops in the past year, I think that's really significant. One of the things that we've been hearing throughout the meetups, through Cyber Ladies meetups, is the need for professional development opportunities, training, workshop, talks, CTF events. And it's great. I think even the content that we have today in this meetup, the talks, the lightning talks that you're going to hear in a couple of minutes, they're really, really focused on topics that we all need to learn more about. So with that in mind, we're going to take it over to Nitika and to Helen in Canada. And then we're going to start with our first speaker. I want to hear from Helen and Nitika about your visions and how you started Cyber Ladies and your experiences. We have a quick question for you and for the chapter leaders, and then we'll move on to our first speaker about CTF. So stay tuned, everybody. Nitika and Helen, take it away. Tell us a little bit about Toronto Cyber Ladies.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us. It's so exciting. I met Karen in 2018 on Sector in Toronto, and that was amazing. Really like the idea that you mentioned about the leading cyber ladies. And then I remember talking to Karen saying that, well, we don't have anything in Toronto, maybe we should start something. And we started to chat. At the same time, I met Nitika, who was also in contact with Karen on other side. So we got together and we started a chapter that we have launched with first meetup in January 2019. And Nitika, would you like to add something?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone. Very excited to be here today. This is our first global meetup, which is super exciting. And then I think this is the best we could do in the situations we are in right now. So happy to have you here. And then, so as Helen said, so we met in fall of 2018, and our first meetup we started in the January of 2019. And it has been a very exciting journey so far. We have been able to do like a monthly meetup, like with all our help of sponsors and speakers. So thank you all.
Yeah, we also having those occasional lunches when we actually talk to ladies in more intimate environment, when we go and eat together and just chat about cyber and life. And you know what's the most exciting thing that I have experienced with this? First of all, the response of all women who joining us and how much they really needed it. It's amazing, and it's really exciting, and it's just, you know, makes us want to even provide more of that. And when somebody comes back and saying like, hey, since I started to go to your meetups, I was able to I actually got more competent in myself, and I did apply for that job, and I got that job because of your meetup. Thank you so much. And it's just amazing. And so many women also come and learn about different topics, and it's like, how can I start my career in cyber? And it's like, well, come and see what you like, you know, and so on. So it's been an amazing journey, and we're continuing, and right now online, and as soon as we get back to the in-person, we'll continue in person.
That's amazing, Helen. Thank you. And actually, in a way, you already started answering one of the questions that came in through the chat. So Eden wanted to ask the leaders, What is your vision of success? When do you know that the Leading Cyber Ladies activity is successful? And I'm going to take it from what you said, Helen. You know, when a woman finds a new job or finds an area that she's now passionate about, she can learn about, I find that to be a measurement of success. I'd love to take it back to Hila, if I can. Hila, you're one of the most successful women I know in the area of cybersecurity, and you've really risen so much in the past few years. When we started this back 5 years ago, can you tell me what you think now, when you look back to then, about measurement of success for the Leading Cyber Ladies activity? What would be your metric for success for Leading Cyber Ladies, would you say? Yes, waiting for Nitika to please unmute Hila, DJ Nitika.
Okay, great. So thank you. To be honest, just looking at today's event, right? I never expected us to be hosting a global event. Really, that wasn't even an expectation back then. And that's just amazing. And it's more than success, really, what is happening with this group and how it grew, the energy that Reud gave it, and Karen, really that's amazing, and that exceeds any kind of expectation that I had back then. That's really amazing.
That's so great to hear. And Hila, I agree. I feel like one of the success metrics for our group is in the women that show up, that participate, that share their knowledge, but it's also in women that even might not be as part of the group, but they're hearing about Leading Cyber Ladies, and they're saying, oh, it's amazing that there are women in cybersecurity and that we're creating our own associations, our own networks. Even just the fact that Leading Cyber Ladies is getting out there in the world and that thousands of people are learning about it, I think that already, for me, from my point of view, generates a measure of success for getting the word out there. Yes, there are women in cybersecurity. We are here. We are successful. We are leading. This was the choice of the name. And we are really calling for everybody to pay attention to us and to join forces with us.
Yeah, and I really love that,
yes.
that aspect that really, I wasn't thinking about it in the beginning, but that aspect of helping the younger generation to join the industry. I'm in the industry for 22 years now, who would have thought, but really it's allowing that newer generation to go into their first time jobs, and a lot of them has done it thanks to this job, the opportunities and the support that we provided, and that's a great instrument, and it demonstrates the success of this group.
Cool, I absolutely agree. Sivan, you want to add?
Yeah, I would love to add. I mean, besides the fact that I'm working in cybersecurity, or maybe I should say my main job is being a mom, and I have a 5-year-old daughter here who is now experiencing her first, for the first time, she's experiencing learning remotely and having social interactions by using Zoom. And I was thinking about that give this young generation those skills of the different technologies and even coding. I was thinking to start working with her on coding because I think it's extremely important. Imagine the next pandemic, the next crisis, what they will need to have those skills. So when we're talking about the next generation, it's not only the women of our generations, but also the younger generation who we need to educate and to make sure that they are more tech savvy and that they are familiar with the different tools. I think that's the future, and that's where we need to go and give them those skills.
And that's what Leading Cyber Ladies is all about. It's about sharing skills. It's about showcasing what we know and learning from others. So with that in mind, I want to take it away to our first lightning talk of the day. I want to introduce Inbal Lidan, who's going to be our next speaker. Inbal, get set up over there. Yes, hello. There she is. And she's going to talk to us about CTFing, capturing the flag, the methodical approach. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Inbal is going to start sharing her screen in a minute, and I'm going to also put myself on mute, and I will be back when Inbal is done. Take it away, Inbal.
Hi guys, I hope you can hear me. Just wave, just so you know that everything's fine. Yeah, you can hear me? No? Guys, can you hear me? Okay, great. So I'll just jump right in. I'm here to talk about my approach to CTFs. It's not, I will go through a specific challenge because I think that the best way to talk is through an example, but it's not so much about the challenge, it's more about the approach. I hope you all know what CTFs are, even if you haven't made one. I strongly recommend to try. First of all, it's super fun. And besides being fun, it's a really great way to master current skills or maybe find out other areas.
Yes? Sorry to stop you. It's Karen here. I'm really sorry to stop you. We are getting some feedback on the chat that there is feedback or that there is some robotic distortion to your sound. If we can take just a minute more to try and fix the sound on your end, it will make this experience, I feel, much more approachable for everybody who's trying to tune in, because this is a really super, super important topic. Let's see it now.
Can you hear me now, Karen?
I think we're still getting the same kind of disruption. So I have had a couple of messages that say you sound kind of metallic. I don't know if this is the computer. May I suggest an option? What you can do, Inbal, is that you can connect on your phone, open up a new Zoom session, just share your screen from your computer and share audio from a phone or another device. And maybe if you connect over your phone, that might help us solve it. So we're going to give you a minute to do that. Nitika, please make sure that if Inbal is joining with the new, oh, actually she can, you know, she will be unmuted, I hope, when she joins. We're going to mute this now. Meanwhile, while we give Inbal a moment to do that, I'll tell you that, like Raoult mentioned, here in Israel, a couple of months ago, we had an amazing Capture the Flag event where a lot of women did a capture event activity for the first time in their lives. So actually, I'm going to try and see all of you, or most of you, if I can see in the video. And by a raise of hand, if you can raise your hand, who here has ever participated in any kind of capture the flag activity? A couple of you? I can see a couple of hands, not a ton. I see a couple of hands. Smadi, I'm sure you have had a capture the flag activity sometime in your career, maybe, maybe not. So definitely I'm seeing some of the ladies that have participated in capture the flag. Here's a new question. I'm seeing also in the chat, Eden participated in CTF. I'm seeing a few ladies that say that they have never participated in CTF. Nitika, we need you to please unmute Inbal on one or both of her devices meanwhile. And for those of you who said that you have never participated in a capture the flag, I'm thinking, you know, this is something that you would like to do. If you were presented with the opportunity to participate in a capture the flag, let me ask a question. If it was an all women capture the flag, would that make it more likely for you to participate? Raise your hand if you would participate in an all women capture the flag. Couple of you, I see a couple of hands up there. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Smadi. I would definitely love to participate in an all women capture the flag. And I see in the chat as well. So for those who don't know, capture the flag is a hacking competition. It's like an active event or a game, almost like a scavenger hunt where you're trying to use all kinds of hacking techniques.
Okay, can you try now, Inbal?
Yes. Wait, can you hear me?
Here's the top search result.
I think we still have the same issues in Dal.
Is it better?
No.
Oh, I now hear what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do in Bal, have you tried connecting with different device, a phone maybe?
Is the noise better now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. We solved it. Yay.
Yay. Okay, so I'm going to shut up my chattering and we'll learn all about CTFing. Take it away, Inbal. The floor is yours.
Thanks. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So CTFing. Sorry about that. Now there is an echo. Yes, I can hear it too. I'm trying to mute everything here. Now it's a bit better. Turn off. Yeah, I tried. Okay, great. You hear me, right? Great. Okay. Thanks. I can't hear you, so I will just use the chat. Okay, I can't hear you guys. I can just talk to you. Okay, sorry again. So I heard that Karen asked if you ever done a CTF. So like I said, I strongly recommend. And today what I want to do is just go through a challenge walkthrough and focus on how to navigate a completely new challenge, something that you never encountered before. Maybe it's not something that you do on your daily jobs. Please remember, there's not a lot of time, so I won't stop at every corner of what I'm saying, but please try to remember as we go along this presentation that most of what I will tell you today, I didn't know when I first approached this challenge. This is one of the first ever challenges that I solved. So please try and remember that, and I want to show you how you can move through something unfamiliar and like overcome. I've hit a wall. What now? So let's just dive in. We'll take it in those 3 steps, and if we'll have time, quick takeaways. Okay, I'm starting. So first, the first step is to understand the playground. What are we looking at? So if you know CTFs, you know that there are sections usually. There is a section of reversing challenge, and there is a section for a crypto challenge, etc. And here, the CTF, I'm sorry, I didn't say, it's from Checkpoint Security Academy. I will, if I'll have time, I will say a few words about them. I strongly recommend to check them out. So they put this specific challenge under logic, which doesn't give us a lot because I of course, I need to use my brain to solve this challenge. So it's not a big surprise. But let's see what we have on the description. So the description says this image was encrypted using a custom cipher. So right now I have in my first ever sentence of the challenge description, I understand that it's a crypto challenge because we have an encrypted image, a custom cipher. We'll probably need to remember that. We managed to get most of its code here. Unfortunately, blah, blah, blah. Someone spilled coffee all over key transformator.py. Can you help us decrypt the image? So, okay, we still haven't opened not the code or the image, but we know we have an encrypted image that we need to find, and we have the encryption algorithm with something missing. So this is the job, okay? We need to understand how to decrypt the image and decrypt it, and probably the flag will be there. So let's go with me on opening those links. So the encrypted image file, I open it in your daily average photo opener, and I see a black square. Not a lot to do with that. And the flag is probably here because otherwise why encrypt it? But how can we decrypt a black square? Some of you maybe already know this answer, but I, as I said, didn't know that when I first started. And Also, we have the encryption code. I won't go through the code right now because we'll dive into that soon. But I want to just show you two things. Okay, so as you can see here above, we see that the key, the initial key, is randomly generated. So if it's randomly generated, how can we find it? And we can't decrypt without the encryption key. And another thing to look at is the key probably changes because we have generate initial key and then we have key transformator dot transform, and we know that we don't have this library or this file to look at. So we don't know anything about the key. And this is, sorry. So how can, let's say we figured out how to decrypt this black square. How can we do that without the encryption key? So this is like just opening the files that we got are two questions that I felt I need to answer. And so the first question of what to do with this black square bothered me more at first. So I looked online for ways to look at another way to look at image files, and I found that I can throw the image file into a hex editor. This is specifically HXD, but you can choose whatever you want. And voila, I see the image in a whole different way. I see it as in its binary representation. I see the byte. And what you will see in hex editor is you can see the offset and for each place the byte, and you can see in the decoded text if this byte is human readable. If it's ASCII text, then you can see it in the decoded text section, and if not, you could just see dot dot dot. So why is this exciting? Because now we understand a very important thing, that this is a digital forensics challenge. So we know we have crypto and we have digital forensics. If you don't know digital forensics, it's a fancy way of saying that you need to look at files at their binary form and try to understand what the hell is going on and extract the flag. So I didn't know about digital forensics when I first solved the challenge. So I said, okay, my go-to was Google how to solve digital forensics challenges. And I found a lot of great resources, which I encourage you to read. And they said, look for magic bytes, look for headers, look for section, look for whatever. And as you can see in this nice encrypted image file before us, it's gibberish. There is nothing, no structure, no headers, nor magic bytes. We have everything that this nice how-to guide told me to look for didn't exist. So I didn't despair. I said, okay, let's look at the code, because Python I know how to read and I can deal with that. So let's remember that and we'll get back to this file. So I turned to the code for clues, and what can we know about the encryption key? I remind you that it's randomly generated, but still we have some information. So as I said, the key probably changes at some point because we know we have initial key and key transformator. And we can see that the key is for uppercase ASCII letters. So 4 letters and only uppercase ASCII really narrows down the number of options for the key, which is very exciting because randomness sucks. So we have quite a lot of information just from this quick brief on the challenge, which brings us to our step 2, which is asking the right forensic questions. I believe that if I ask the right questions when I'm solving a challenge, and it's also the approach that I use at work, then I will get to the right solution, even if I know nothing about what I'm researching. So far we've learned that the image bytes were encrypted using a randomly generated uppercase ASCII letters key, which is 4 letters long, and a letter is a char, and a char is 1 byte long. And it changes as the encryption algorithm runs. We don't know how it changes, but we know that it does. So that leads us to ask these following 3 forensics questions. First, the initial key is randomly generated, so how can we find it? How does the key change and on what conditions? Not only the change itself, but when. And how is the key used on the bytes of the original image? Because if you are familiar with cryptography, you know that there are many ways to take an information and to encrypt it using an encryption key. And we need to know the way if we are hoping to decrypt it correctly. So we'll try and answer all of these in hopes of solving the challenge and getting the flag and the glory. Okay, so let's continue with the encryption code. I remind you that Python is better than gibberish in bytes. And what we can see here is, you know, in Python, it's like the main function, because Python, you don't have to have a main function. And we can see here really nicely the encryption process. So first, the first two lines is reading to the variable img image, the original image file, and you can see that it's called flag png, which is, you know, ding 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 ding. That's what we're looking for. Well, there's some padding added to it. We'll get to that later. And generating the initial key, which we saw before, it's the 4 uppercase ASCII letters randomly generated. And then we encrypt it using XOR function. We encrypt 4 bytes. You can see we use key length to jump 4 bytes at a time. We encrypt it using the XOR function and then add it to enc data. And finally, we're changing the key and writing whatever we have encrypted data to encrypted PNG, which is the gibberish that we got. So right now, we know exactly the process of encryption, which is great. And let's look at XOR a little bit, because XOR here is not the XOR that you know, which is exponent, which is bitwise XOR. If you are familiar with this function, it's a custom XOR function, so we need to understand it because that's the encryption function. Okay, so XOR here actually takes 2 strings, S1 and S2, and takes 2 strings and XORs them bitwise XORs them bit by bit. Okay, you can see K equals Q exponent D. It's actually not exponent, it's XOR, it's bitwise XOR in Python. So it actually takes 2 strings and bitwise XORs them byte by byte. And a nice thing to remember about the XOR, bitwise XOR, is it is a reversible function. If you're not sure why, or you don't remember why, I encourage you to read about it. Or even try to take 2 bytes and in their bit representation actually perform the XOR bit by bit and see what happens. Anyway, so XOR is reversible, and if you can see from the function that we have, it's also quite reversible, because taking an ORD on a char and then reversing it to char on the ORD is just basically the same, and XOR is reversible. So that led me to the conclusion that if we have the keys, we can XOR them with the encrypted bytes, because we have the result and we have the key. Let's say we have it. Putting them together in a reversible function will give us the original image bytes, which is what we're looking for. So just a reminder on our forensics question. So our first question about the randomly generated key, we still don't know how to solve it. How does the key change and on what conditions? So we know it changes every 4 bytes. We saw it 2 slides ago. We don't know how yet. And how is the key used on the bytes of the original image? We have solved this question. We have the encryption algorithm and we have the XOR function. So you'll have to trust me now that I read and reread the code at this point, and I didn't get anywhere. So this is like the really hitting the wall moment that I had solving this challenge. I was like, but I read the code and I looked at the image, and I mean, I know how to read Python. I understand perfectly how this algorithm works. What am I missing? So after a lot of thought and searching, I remembered that there is one other thing that we know, that the original image is in PNG format. And why is this so great and exciting? Because PNG format, and here you can see a snapshot of a random PNG picture in HXD. The first 8 bytes of every PNG file are always the same. Always in every PNG file that you'll open. So the key changes every 4 bytes, and we can use PNG format for the first 8 bytes to get the first and second key, which is very exciting because we know the key changes every 4 bytes. So if we can deduce from the first and second key how the key changes, we're done. So we'll just do that, find the first and second keys. So you can see that I took the first 4 bytes of the original image. Original image, I don't know what it is, but I know the first 4 bytes are the same as any PNG format. So it's 89, 50, etc. And I took the first 4 bytes of the encrypted image, which I also have because I have encrypted image. And I just sort them byte by byte and reverted them back to ASCII and got the results. So you can see that the first key is AZEN, and the second key, repeating this process with the next 4 bytes, is B square brackets FO. And if it doesn't jump to you immediately, that's okay. It didn't jump to me either. It's every letter of the key is replaced by its successor in the ASCII table, which is kind of like a Caesar cipher, but Caesar cipher usually uses only the alphabet and only the alphabet. And here we use all of the 256 ASCII characters. So yay, we know now that we don't care that the initial key is randomly generated because we have it. So the question is irrelevant. How does the key change and on what conditions? We know that it changes every 4 bytes and it's replacing each char with its ASCII table successor. And we already know the encryption algorithm and XOR. So I hope you're excited as I am that victory is upon us. And quickly, what we'll do is apply all we learned to get the flag. So the first thing that we do is to build a transformator function that we're missing from the original encryption algorithm. So really simply what you can see here, what I did is taking the key and just for each character, calculate its successor in the ASCII table and give it to the new key string. XOR doesn't change because it doesn't need to change. You can look at it and see that if I give the first string the key and the second string the encrypted bytes, I will get the original bytes back because everything is reversible. And decrypt using transform key. Here, it's the rest of the code. I didn't change anything except that I open now encrypted PNG and I write into flag PNG, which is reverse of what I had before. And I run this code on the encrypted image file, and I expect to open it and to find my flag. And lo and behold, I did not. I was very sad. I remind you there was a little annoying something called padding. And the padding function, what it does, essentially, it's a very simple and annoying thing. It adds 1 to 4 bytes to the end of the original image before encryption. So after we decrypt it, we might need to delete some bytes. So what you do is you open the image in hex editor, you delete the last byte, you close it, you open it in photo or in a painter, and you see if you get what you expect to find. If you go over the 4 bytes and didn't happen, so something is wrong in the process, but if not, it's supposed to work. Just a quick note here that this happens in real life also. Like attackers use padding to obscure and to mess with you. So it's a real life example. And now drum rolls, please. After we sorted this padding out, we get the image and the flag. You can, I don't know if you can see it very well, but it says flag rolling my own crypto. You put it in and you are very, very happy. Yeah, it's great. That's it. I will just say quickly that I think that asking the right question and working methodically is key to solving challenges, even the ones you don't know anything about. So don't be afraid to tackle challenges head on. And as I said, it's a great thing to do. And please also ask your community ladies for clues. There are a lot of us who love CTF, and I will try to get the slides to you. I have in the last slide, I will not go through it, but recommended resources if you guys want to start, and if I succeeded in making you want to CTF a little bit. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm sorry about before all the technicalities. I hope you enjoyed my talk, and Karen, I bring it back to you.
Thank you, Inbal. Definitely that tiger deserved a drum roll, and tiger is my emotional spirit animal, and I think it's really cool that you were able to decrypt the flag like that. So now we all know a little bit more about capture the flag. We understand the idea of capturing an actual flag. In this case, the flag was inside the image file, and Inbal had to go through all of these cool steps. Thanks for taking us through it and really sharing your lessons with us. With no further ado, I'm going to move it over to Sivan. Sivan, please introduce the next speaker for us, and I'm going to share my slides as well so that you can see the title for the next talk. Sivan, give us an introduction, please.
Yes, so I'm really excited to have Sharon here with us today. Sharon is data protection or assistant director at EY, and she's a data protection and risk management expert. She's an experienced team leader and data protection professional with extensive background in inspections, reviews, operationalizing data protection compliance, guidance development, process development, and optimization. And she's one of the very first cyber ladies in the New York City chapter. So Sharon, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and let's hear your talk, the culture of privacy.
Thank you, Sivan. So making sure everybody can hear me okay. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for including me in this first global event. I'm also coming to you from Midtown Manhattan in New York City, where it's brisk 6 Celsius, so a little colder here. I wanted to start by saying that I'm happy to share with you my thoughts about the culture of privacy, but just to clarify, these are my own opinions and thoughts. They do not reflect any of EY's opinions or thoughts. So a little bit about my background. I have a legal background, but even in my law degree, I did a combination of law and technology. My coding skills are abysmal, but I've always been fascinated about the connection between law and technology. For many years, I was part of the Israeli Data Protection Authority, which was the Israeli Law Information and Technology Authority, and the mix between protecting privacy and information security. So that's what brought me to this great group, and I'm always excited to learn about things like, now I've learned a new thing about Cast a Flag. So thank you, Inbal, for that. So for my perspective, I've been always looking at the world of privacy and how different countries and different people treat it differently. And I thought it was interesting, especially in these times of COVID-19. So I'll start by generally talking about the differences that we see in the world, or that I see in the world, and how we're seeing them in play in the last few weeks or months with the COVID-19. So I think everybody here probably heard about GDPR, the European General Data Protection Regulation, which brought about requirements like notifying regulators about data breaches within 72 hours, or giving individuals the rights to delete information about themselves or the right to be forgotten. But did you know that GDPR is applied in over 30 member states, including in the Nordics, you know, Sweden, Norway, and those countries. But for example, in the Nordics, they have an age-old rule that everybody's tax returns are open on the internet for public review. So if you're filing your tax return in Norway or Sweden, anyone from the public can go into that repository and look at that information. And yet they have GDPR. So how does that interplay? That's an interesting thing to think about. They come with a tradition that is called the law of, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, the law of Jante or Jante. And that means that the collective, preserving the collective is more important than individualism. And so, for example, so that everybody feel a sense of fairness between the collective, that's why they want to see that everybody's being taxed in the same way. So that is an exception to the GDPR. Nowhere in the world is privacy an absolute right. If we look at countries like China and Russia, they have privacy laws that are very robust. If you're a business operating in these countries, you have to implement a lot of mechanisms and operations in order to manage that right. But does it apply to the government? Not really. Think about Israel. I'm from Israel. I moved here to the US 5 years ago. Used to work for the Israeli regulator. In Israel, we have a privacy law since 1981, yet every election, whether it's local for the municipalities or for the government, the file including information about all eligible voters, including their ID and their contact information, is given without any protections from the Ministry of Interior to every one of the parties that are participating in that election. That resulted in 2006 in that database being made available over the internet. And when I was in, back then, Elita, one of the things we were handling is the criminal prosecution of the people who got it to the internet. In the US, it's very interesting because there is no privacy law in the nation. There is a federal privacy law which only applies to federal agencies, federal government agencies. Each of the 50 states has a data breach law. But then when you look at that data breach law, you see that it only speaks to the breach of specific types of information. For example, your social security number, your bank account numbers, your credit card numbers. Why is that? Because those laws are looking at the risk to the individual of having their identity stolen. In GDPR world, they're looking at the rights and freedoms of the individuals being harmed. So for example, in the US, if you would have your report card from school breached, that's not necessarily triggering US state breach law, but in the EU, it will. So you can see how different cultures and perspectives are brought into what is privacy and how do we manage privacy. So, and I can mention in the US that recently California brought in the CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Protection Act, which introduces some of those EU kind rights, but for the data breach portion, it's still as it has been. That specifically hasn't changed. Now Californians will have rights to get a copy of their information or to request deletion of their information, but not everything changed. And still, we have to remember, California is one state, US is a whole nation. So generally, what does it mean to have a right to privacy? It means that we have an autonomy over our personal data. Who collects it? What do they collect? How they retain it? How long they retain it? Who do they share it with? And what do they use it for? And so through that, we can think about different things like, how do we obtain consent? In some places, for example, the EU, I'm sure you've all seen going on EU websites, in order for cookies to collect information about you while you're in the website, you have to specifically say, I accept or I do not. If you're surfing in any other website in the world, they don't ask you. They presume that by you going into the site, and maybe you looked at the privacy policy in the bottom, maybe you didn't, they presume that you consented to them collecting the data about you and processing it. Then you would have different areas in terms of individual rights. Some countries, like the EU, brought in the right to access. You can get a copy of your information, you can revise your information, you can ask to have it deleted. That doesn't apply in all countries. Some are trying to align with the EU level of rights, but not all of them. And lastly, there is the point about right of action. When does an individual can file a lawsuit when their privacy is infringed? That's not across the board. In the EU, they introduced that right. In California now, they introduced that right, but it doesn't exist in many other countries. So now, taking that back to COVID-19 time, and you see how all of this interplays and how countries are dealing with this crisis. So you can see, for example, that in China, they went to the extreme. They already have these databases that are connected to cell phone companies, location tracking and all of those things. And they have the public domain CCTV that has AI capabilities to match people's identities. And now they required every resident to install an app for COVID-19, which basically scores the individual in terms of red, yellow, and green, if they are, and that would mean where they're allowed to go. If it's red, they have to stay at home, they can't leave their home. It's yellow and green, that will determine where they're allowed to go in the public domain. So that's one approach. In South Korea, they did a similar government program where they're collecting all the information from the cell phone companies about location in order to track people who were diagnosed with COVID-19 and to make sure that they're following the isolation requirements. However, this was done in South Korea. They have a very robust privacy law, but a few years ago, they enacted a pandemic-specific law, which basically says how they would collect data like this and how much, how they would retain it, who would have access to it. So it's very clear to the individuals in that country what kind of data is going to be saved about them and retained and so on. So I think it's an interesting case of balancing public safety with privacy, but doing it in a law. Then you look at the place like Israel, and all of our friends in Israel now know that Israel chose to go about, like I said, there was a privacy law from 1991. They chose to go about a way of enacting emergency regulations where they allow a security agency called Shabak to basically access cell phone company information of everybody in Israel. And it's, like I said, emergency regulation. It wasn't like anybody took the time to think about all the implications and analyze the aspects of privacy. And now we have this security agency that is basically tracking everybody in Israel for the purpose of calculating who has been in contact with a COVID infected person and alerting people to that they were in contact with them and whether they should go get tested or stay isolated and so on. So I think it's a very interesting case. It went to the Supreme Court in Israel and they ratified that decision. So it's an interesting case. Again, think about how different countries are dealing with this differently. In the European Union, countries have been very reluctant to get that level of information. GDPR is upon them, but also their political culture. These are countries that stepped out of World War II and the age of the Stasi and East Germany, and they're very worried about what the state can collect about them. And so you can see that across the board, these countries only collect aggregated personal data from cell phone companies or anonymized. And in one country, for example, the Netherlands, the regulator basically said, you can't collect anonymized location data because you can always trace it back to somebody. So if you want to be able to do that, they're saying it to the public safety officials, you have to enact a law. In Canada, they decided we're not going to do anything because for us, the top priority is the civil rights of our people in Canada. In the US, we know that post 9/11, we had the Patriot Act that introduced new techniques of surveillance by the government of all Americans, and that is being managed by the NSA. And we saw the reports following the Snowden issue about the extent of that program, but we're not hearing that that's going to be in use in this case of COVID. Quite the opposite. Instead of that, we're hearing that there is an initiative between Apple and Google to create some kind of tracking based on Bluetooth information of devices in Android and iPhone. Is that better? Is that worse than any of the other solutions of the countries? But you can see that the government is looking for that solution. They're going for private sector solution instead of a government-based solution. So I want to wrap this up because I know Harsha is also excited to talk with you today. I think when you look at all these things, when you ask what is privacy and what does it mean to different people, it's different and it's never the same, it's never absolute. And it also always impacts how you deal with different situations like we're seeing these days. So thanks for the opportunity to speak with you today, and giving it back to you, Karen.
Thank you so much for that beautiful point of view about the world of privacy. You called it the cultural privacy. This brings to mind something I heard a while ago, and I really love this statement. Security and privacy are always mentioned together, but they're not, they're not best friends. In some cases, security and privacy are like maybe relatives, but they're not best friends. And sometimes you can have security, but you're going to give up some privacy, and the other way around as well. And the difference between the perspectives of privacy in different countries, for example, what you mentioned about the tax returns in the Nordics, I never heard about that. That's so fascinating to me. It's such a cultural element as well. It proves to me that privacy today is all kinds of different animals. And in some countries, it's maybe an endangered species. In other countries, privacy has evolved into a new type of animal. Now in the COVID era, there's privacy 2.0 or 3.0, if you will. And each country is kind of finding their own version of privacy and according to their own cultural elements and whatever background is in that country. So that was a really fascinating perspective. Thank you, Sharon. I learned new things that I didn't know. And we're going to move it up to our amazing new speaker. Thank you, Sharon. And we're going to move it up to Toronto. Toronto, Helen and Nitika, are you ready to introduce our next speaker? I'm going to send it over to Helen.
Hi, thanks, Nitika and Karen. Nitika, would you like to introduce Harsha? And I'll talk a little bit about her topic.
For sure. Hi, everyone. This is Nitika. So introducing Harsha. So she is a CEO of KTech Labs, and then she has been working on how physical security is changing as the cyber landscape is changing. So very excited to have her here.
And Harsha is going to talk about why hackers are taking over the smart buildings. And we know that smart devices are everywhere and so important for us in our technology and growing that technology. And but it also opens much opportunities for hackers to hack those devices and steal data and exploit and somehow jeopardize. So I won't talk more. I'll give it over to Harsha. Harsha, would you like to present your screen, or do you just gonna talk?
Thank you, LCL, Helen and Nitika, for having me here. Hello everyone. Happy to talk about smart buildings and cybersecurity. I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes, we can.
So today we'll talk about smart buildings and why hackers are taking over smart buildings. Smart buildings connect traditional building systems like lights, elevators, access control, your fire alarm system, and the critical system building automation system we commonly call BAS that controls heating and cooling. Well, there is no single set of standards that define a smart building. Everyone has their own definition. But one thing that is common is integration of all these systems. In smart buildings, we have automated processes that controls the building operations, like sensors to control lighting, monitor occupancy, and we collect data from different systems, generate insights, and the key is to achieve operational efficiency. Probability of a building getting hacked, like some of the common vulnerabilities that hackers exploit. We have less guarded entry points in a building, like no firewall, default configurations on devices and software, like our favorite password configuration, admin. No antivirus protection on the system running critical applications. Then as compared to IT security or our enterprise security, lack of focus is on cybersecurity when managing operational technologies. So we have lack of user management and everyone is admin. Operations team sharing passwords. And then you see password written on sticky notes in operations room. And this is not all. Backup taken once in 6 months and sometimes kept on the same system. Outdated software and devices. Building system applications are running obsolete software